to get started, if anybody have any questions, please let us know. You can share your questions in the chat.
I see one question in the question and answer box, and that's how can we help students protect their privacy while using AI, and how to ensure patent rights? I'm not really sure about ensuring patent rights. You mean copyright, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, most likely that's the answer. Well, do you think that some of us will been okay? So the first question: how can we help students protect their privacy? That's a very good question, and we have to understand that that's the right to be authentically creative. Okay, so copyright. Probably copyright refers more to this choose your own story workflow that I showed to you. When initially you get something which is in public domain, you already contribute to protection of the copyright. Because the second you take something which is protected by copyright and you feed it into the chatbot, technically you are violating the copyright. So that's what we should be well aware of. Sometimes certain things that come out of chatbots, something from ChatGPT, for example, may have traces of copyright violations, but that's a vast topic at the moment. I think that if you as teachers try to protect copyright in the sense of using copyright materials properly and responsibly, in the way you teach your students how to actually respect such rights. So that's addressing this copyright issue. And that's the first thing. The second one, how can we ensure their privacy? That's a very important question, and that refers to literacy, both teachers' literacy, AI literacy, and students' AI literacy. If they know that whenever they leave some information online, somebody will have access to that information. Or as some marketing people say, whenever you use something for free, you are the product. You've probably heard this interesting statement. It means that if you take something for free, you actually give your own information whenever you sign up for this or that app, right? So basically that's a trade-in in place. You give your personal information, and that's again privacy. So you have to teach your students to make sure that they do not leave confidential information or information about themselves, and they should be very selective what and how they say and what they do. So that's about privacy.
Thank you, Lana. So Ganjina is okay. You can unmute yourself, Ganjina, because I can see that you may want to ask something.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now, yes. Great.
Okay, so good afternoon. I think it is yours, UK time. It is day.
Yeah.
So
it's 5.
yeah. Oh, it's good afternoon. So my question is, am I teaching? My teaching classes are upper intermediate, so academic levels. And the question is that the tools that you told us and everything that you told about the this I mean, I can say these procedures or activities that you were giving us, so are they appropriate for the higher level students, or that's just for young learners?
Well, the tools that I shared with you were actually designed with a new. That's about young adults. I mean, that was my group of students. I was doing that for a particular category of students who are actually young adults, about from about 17 to 21, 22, general English, upper intermediate level. So, and that's why I was designing the materials in the form that I needed. I was also experimenting with accessible materials, how to make listening materials or audio or video resources accessible to students. And that's why you can see some examples where the level is a bit lower, but that's about this experimenting with accessibility for videos or creating the so-called video graders, if you know what I'm talking about, like.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
they're absolutely appropriate. But then again, the beauty of AI tools is that you actually decide how you will be using these tools. So
Yeah.
they can target advanced students, or they can you can use them to design something for lower level students. So that's up to you. That's up to
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you very much.
I need to say, Ganjina, that I actually tried the anti-quiz maker yesterday, and so I didn't know what to expect. I gave my prompts, which was for upper intermediate level. I have adult students whom I teach intermediate level. I wanted discussion, and the topic was health. And oh my God, just experiment with that and try it for yourself. I was, oh my God, blown away. I really didn't expect the questions that I got. The questions, whenever I use, let's say, ChatGPT or Gemini, in my prompt, I usually use words like generate interesting, personal, thought-provoking, challenging questions, discussion questions, and I give the level and all the other specifications. And so here like what I got as a result just blew me away. And I actually saved all the questions, and I'm going to use them in one of my upcoming lessons. Like really like once, and also besides the questions being thought-provoking, interesting, personal, they have the aspect of unexpected. So like questions that the students would not expect,
Yeah.
Amazing. Just really like we need to, expose ourselves to these apps and tools. Just give it a go. And if something goes off, just try again, try it 2, 3, 4 times, and you will see, we will get the hang of it and then have more
Thank
confidence.
you.
So I can highly recommend, all those.
Well, in a nutshell, you've just described the meaning of this workshop. What I meant to say is that our pedagogy or our teaching approach and our principles come first, because the apps that you've just seen are the apps that I designed. I just used regular APIs to get connected to language models, particular language models. Mainly that's GPT-4, but I used Claude as well for some instances, because sometimes some models work better for certain types of assignments. Anyway, if you start with your teaching approach, if you start with the principles, what is important for you in a task, not with the prompt itself, when you just say, please generate something interesting, exciting, with an element of novelty for this or that level of students, but that's not enough. You start with your principles, what you would like to have. And for personalized activities, as I say, that's about relevance, which was absolutely important for me, relevance to particular contexts, and then given a certain opportunity to my students to actually express their own opinions. So that was the focus, expressing their own opinions and using learners as a resource. So basically, I led the model into that. The prompt itself gets the model to ask students particular questions that will actually encourage them to actually create their own materials in a way. Just like with this icebreaker, when students have to feed in their own questions, because nobody knows their interests better than them themselves.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I agree, Anna. Like we need to know the outcome, our goal. We need to have it in mind before we start, experimenting with prompts. So we need to know what we want. And actually, I need to say, if we have no other questions, is that it was you were like 1 or 2 minutes into the session when I had such an aha moment. I need to tell you about that. And so at the moment, I have about 3 teachers in my life. They are not from the field of EFL, but that doesn't matter, who emphasize the importance of asking questions, asking really good questions. And so this is what you did. You your question that you often start your lessons with, if you literally ask your students if they were creating a unit for their course book, what would it look like, And so, my gosh, it made me reflect on what I've been doing so far, because I have all, the best intentions in the world to have student-centered lessons. And what I do is I ask my students, like, what do you do in your free time? Who do you like spending time with? And yeah, we have needs analysis as well at school, but we go beyond that. So when we have the lessons, we try and do our very best to get to know our students. I'm also talking about my colleagues. And so, but what happens based on the information that I get from the students, I create the lessons from me and through me. So the material comes from me and through me. However, when I ask the question that you shared with us, like what would you create in a unit for your course book, so then it would change, the question changes, and that would change the outcome, because from that point, the material will come from the students through me, because I will need to design the lessons anyway. But that's a completely different place. So thank you so much for, after 20 plus years of teaching, it's so important to stay open and, so yeah, it's not embarrassing, just a little bit, but that's fine. So but thank you so much for sharing this with us, because I think this is very different from what I've been doing so far.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. But actually, it means a lot. It means a lot, because oftentimes, whenever I deliver a session on AI, the idea is basically, oh, you are against humans. So somewhat there is something anti-human in that. But I say that we can combine the human approach and tools, because for me, AI is just a tool. But this tool has the power to change certain things, even in technical terms. It helps us create something that we couldn't create without such tools. And that's about accessibility. Again, I keep coming back to audio and video resources, because I have lots of learners who are, for this or that reason, cannot watch authentic things. We need to wait till they reach that level when they can watch authentic films. And if, again, with reading, we can have a graded reader. With videos, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. But now with AI, we can add up captions. And on our YouTube channel, that's a group of creative teachers who started that together. On our channel, we have confessions. Was on in 2015, I think, about 10 years ago. But that's a most fantastic film for teaching idioms. I show you. It's very short. It's about 1 minute, yet it has such a number of, that's an interesting wordplay to start with. And it has a number of idioms that are really good to know. And there is such a beauty, such a synergy of video and audio, and at the same time, language. But the problem was that this video was appropriate for more advanced students, something like, again, upper intermediate. But now with AI, I managed to add captions. So now there are captions in English, and they can follow that. So I know that I will not have to show the film again and again and again till they get bored, right? But they can rely, there is the scaffold for lower level students as well. I also have one video on the gift of the Magi. That's the choose your own adventure or reading maze that I showed to you during the session. And I have a video where there is an authentic recording of the authentic text. Yes, the captions have the so-called elaborated input. If you know this Mike Long's idea from SLA, that's the idea of using some explanations in the text. So in a way, you do not dumb down the text for lower level students, but you give some sort of explanations, similar to what we do in authentic communication when we talk, and then we give some clarifications in the sentence. So I use this idea of elaborated input, and I use the authentic text. I use 11 Labs for the voiceover to generate the voiceover, and it sounds fantastic. With all the emotions in place, because I use the so-called speech-to-speech technology, not text-to-speech, but speech-to-speech. So I had to make some recordings to make sure that it accentuates the right words. And again, that opens an opportunity for lower level students to be exposed to authentic audios or authentic text straight away. And again, that's about accessibility. And I think that's a truly great point about AI.
I'm so excited about this because we are not limited to what's available in course books, for instance. We can generate our own text using the lexical items that we want to present to our students. And as you said, I learned about 11 Labs from you, and I started using that so often. And it's just amazing. Like, it can also help us. Like, now I much better at using differentiation in my class, because you can easily turn a reading text into a listening text, which makes it a bit more challenging for students to understand what is there. So, high flyers can listen to a text. Those who need more support can listen and read the text, let's say, together. So there are options. And there is Nadia. Can you see that in the chats, Lana, asking about the name of the film that you mentioned?
Okay. That's Confessions of the Idiom, it's called. And here's the link.
Yes. Thank you so much.
The video itself was under the so-called Creative Commons, so I used my chance. Because it's when you see this magic CC letters, that means that you can use the material, modify it with the proper attribution, of course. Something that you can do with my blog and materials published on my blog, because they are all in this Creative Commons, under the Creative Commons copyright.
Thank you so much, Lana. And can we just move a little bit on to personalization? Since the session is about generative AI for personalized learning and teaching in the context of teaching English as a foreign language. And so why is personalization important in education, and how does it impact student engagement and learning outcomes? I loved in the session that, like, you do not deal with personalization in isolation, but as part of a holistic approach. And so, yeah. So what can you tell us about that? Like, the importance of...
Well, the key message here, I mean, of course, personalization is important because that's about first relevance. And of course, we learn better when something is relevant to us. If you learn, or if your learners learn something about Peter Parker from some place, and they have no clue who that is, and the whole context is not really relevant, I do not think that anyone would be interested, right? Because that's about engagement. When we learn things that are not relevant to us on a personal level, then somewhat they are not really memorable to start with. And then we can talk about engagement. It's really hard to get engaged with something you are not really interested in when it's boring. So the important attributes of engagement, there should be some interest, something should be interesting to start with, right? And it should be relevant. And it should give us an opportunity, again, to think about our life, to reflect about our life, and to use the language that we are learning in relation to what is happening, in our context. In a way, we call it the transfer, right? Or internalizing the language. In psychology, there is a term of self-reference effect. So in a way, we encourage the self-reference effect, and self-reference effect really impacts memory processes, meaning that we will remember that. But I would also like to mention something, not to forget, because it's getting a bit later. So not to forget, I would like to to mention one point, which I think is important when we discuss personalization in general. Personalization is not just about getting things or talking about specific topics that are of interest to your students. You can actually choose any topic. Yet you need to make sure that there is that bridge, or you bridge relevance, or you bridge the topic and lives of your students somewhat, and you match them together. And then there are some other recipes like adding novelty, adding some fun, adding some variety, adding some choice. So these are all key ingredients of engagement. But as for personalization, like why is it important to focus on that? And why is it important to focus on the mix? And that's about expectations, because what I see online, and I've seen it, and I've heard it in many sessions about AI. There is this expectation that personalization will happen with the help of AI, because we'll be able to meet all the needs of our students, of individual students. And that's, I would say, a highly idealistic scenario, because if you have a chatbot, and even if that chatbot is programmed to meet your students' interests, and the chatbot will be guiding with algorithms behind, will be guiding the student, I doubt learning will take place unless you have the student who knows how to learn, who is capable of managing their own learning, who has a certain level of autonomy, who is well motivated, and who can regulate learning processes. So in a way, without that condition, even if you have the best chatbot ever, I doubt that the promises claimed by this or that platform will turn into actual impact or into actual learning outcomes. So I would say before AI literacy and anything else, we start with teaching students how to learn using AI. So how to learn first, then how to learn using AI, right? And then everything else follows.
Exactly.
That's my take on personalization.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I really loved the way you presented all the elements of effective learning experiences that doesn't only include personalization, that's just a part of that. And so you need, other components as well for it to be whole. Like you mentioned, learner agency, learner autonomy, and differentiation. And I remember, like years ago, I like to believe that I have always had student-centered lessons. But I remember years ago, I prepared for my lessons. I was super eager and excited about starting the lesson, sharing what I came up with for the lesson with my students. And as my lessons evolved, I started feeling more and more frustration because I saw a group of students, just sailing through without even being challenged the materials. And then there were some students who were struggling. And so I could feel the frustration building up in my body viscerally. And so, because I was kind of, my attention was divided into two, like by the group of students who I imagined were bored to death already, and those who were struggling so much that they were on the edge of just giving up their language learning journey on the spot. And so why? Because I didn't know anything about differentiation. I hadn't even probably heard the word differentiation in this context that we are mentioning it now. And so that was the issue. Now reflecting, and looking back, reflecting on what I was doing, it's clear to me. And this is what we are, even though we are labeled as teachers, but we are lifelong learners. And so it took me a while to figure, this out. So that's my example from my teaching career. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think we can all relate to that. I mean, it comes with experience.
Yeah.
But as I say, effective learning experiences are a mix of opportunities. I like to call them opportunities that we as teachers can provide to our students. But there is one thing: our students should be able to take full advantage of these opportunities. They should be ready to take advantage of these opportunities.
Exactly.
So that's this interaction between students and the teacher.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So, and
Uh-huh.
exactly. So, do we have any more questions left that anybody in the audience would love to?
I see one question. Do you think that some of us will benefit from a second view of the webinar? Well, given that we started with a glitch, right? Probably there will be some benefit to watch it again. I tried to give you lots of examples, what is possible. It doesn't mean that you have to actually try them all. And as I say, if participants get at least one idea and play with this idea and see how it works for them, then I think that I've completed my mission. So
Okay.
just start small. And that's the motto. Take some small steps. Don't try to cover them all. Try all the tools available there. But start with one small idea, something that you would like to change in your practice, or something that you would like to supplement. Like you have set materials and you would like to make them more personalized for your students, or you would like your students to be more active while probably not answering questions, but asking their own questions. And then you can try and think of some ways how you could use AI to help you as an assistant.
Exactly. And we do not need the whole lesson to be based on AI, and we do not need our every single lesson to be based on AI. So we can just start slowly, just let's say with 5 minutes, and you can just start it at home, really, as Lana, you suggested, that just decide what you want to create. Is it to generate text, generate an image, generate maybe a video if you are more advanced, let's say, or a voiceover or whatever, so text to speech or speech to speech, so just take it step by step. And it's, if you watch this session for the second time, you will understand the structure of the input session more. You will hear more, you will understand more, and all these activities that Lana, has demonstrated will not be so intimidating. Like, you will, just give them a go. And I would start like, just do what I did. You can check Lana's website and you will see so many, like many more different kinds of tools and activities that you can experiment with. And you can start with the ones that Lana mentioned today, like the anti-quiz maker, the 5-minute generating
Generator.
5-minute activity generator, exactly. Oh my God, the reading mazes. Just have a look at them and see, all those opportunities that are available to us, or the icebreaker grid. Just experiment with that, and then sooner or later you will see yourself incorporating them into your own lesson. Yes. So
Yeah.
good, that's it. So thank you